Okay, let's talk about something that's really turning heads right now. There's a brand new poll from APNOC, and wow, it is showing a pretty striking shift in how Hispanic adults view former President Donald Trump. So today, we're going to unpack this whole thing and see what the data is really telling us. All right, so let's get right to the headline number because it's dramatic. At the start of the year, Trump's favorability with Hispanic adults was sitting at 44%. Fast forward to now, it's down to just 25%. I mean, that is a 19-point drop in just a few months. So the big question, right, is what on earth is causing such a huge change so quickly? All right, so to really get a handle on what's going on, let's start with the big picture. We're going to look at those top-line numbers that they really show how big this shift truly is. And it turns out this isn't just about feelings toward one person. The poll is tapping into this much broader sense of unease. Get this, a staggering 73% of Hispanic adults now say the country is heading in the wrong direction. I mean, to put that into perspective for you, that's a 10-point jump in just a few months. That's a big deal. And that feeling, that pessimism, it's also showing up in how people look back at his time in office. It's not just personal favorability that's dropped. His job approval rating has also taken a hit, falling from 41% all the way down to 27%. When you see those two numbers fall side by side like that, it really points to a much deeper dissatisfaction setting in. Okay, but numbers only ever tell part of the story, right? The big question is why. Why is this happening? So to figure that out, we've got to go beyond the percentages. We need to dig into the personal reasons, the kitchen table issues, and the specific policies that are really driving this shift in opinion.
And it seems like a huge factor here is money, plain and simple. Economic anxiety. The poll found that Hispanic adults are feeling financial stress at higher levels than the rest of the country. And the culprits? Well, they're the usual suspects, right? The cost of groceries, housing, healthcare, and what's in their paycheck.
And this quote from a Republican voter named Alejandro Ochoa, man, it just brings it all to life. He voted for Trump and remembers the pre-COVID economy in a good light. But his reality now is, and I'm quoting him here, he's still getting done dirty at the grocery store. It's just such a raw, personal way of describing that financial pinch that so many people are feeling.
But look, it's not just about the economy. We're also seeing a drop in support for his handling of immigration, which, as you know, has always been one of his signature issues. His really hardline stance and the promises of mass deportations, well, it seems like that core part of his platform might not be landing as well as it used to. And what's really interesting is that some people in the poll see a direct link between those two things, the economy and immigration. Take Fela Chandi, a Democrat who sometimes crosses the aisle. She points out that, look, when you mess with immigrant labor through policy, that creates a ripple effect across the entire economy. Suddenly, everything from your food to basic services gets more expensive.
And the concerns actually go even deeper than specific policies. The poll picked up on some other things, too. A retired teacher, Teresa Covarrubias, for example, talked about being troubled by what she called a disregard for the Constitution and a level of cronyism. So for some folks, it's not just about policy anymore. It's about the fundamental norms of how the government works.
Okay, now this is super important to remember, and we say it all the time. The Hispanic community is not a monolith. Not at all. So to really get the full picture, we have to slice and dice the data a bit. We've got to dive deeper into the demographics and see who exactly is driving these shifts.
And this might surprise you. This shift is happening even within his own party. Just last year, a huge 83% of Hispanic Republicans had a favorable view of Trump. Today, that number is down to 66%. Now, yeah, that's still a solid majority, but a 17-point drop among your own supporters, that's definitely significant.
And the trend gets even clearer when you look at two key groups that actually swung towards Trump in the last election. That's younger Hispanic adults and Hispanic men. Right now, about 2/3 in both of those groups see him unfavorably. That is a huge reversal from just last year, when it was only about half. But again, people's views are complicated. They're not black and white. Take Rick Alvarado. He's a Republican, he still supports Trump, and even backs the immigration crackdown. But even he wants to see more nuance. He says the people who are productive should have a pathway to stay here somehow. It just goes to show you the kind of internal debate that's happening even among his supporters.
Okay, so let's pull the camera back. What does all of this actually mean for the bigger picture? Why should we care so much about one poll looking at one demographic? Why does it matter for the entire political landscape?
Well, the answer really comes down to this number right here. In 2020, Hispanic voters were a full 10% of the entire electorate, and that share is only growing, and it's growing fast. Their collective voice is a seriously powerful force in American politics, which means any big shift like the one we're seeing, well, it could be absolutely decisive.
And the poll reminds us that for this community, certain issues just hit different. They carry more weight. Immigration is a perfect example. It's a much more personally important issue for Hispanic adults than it is for white or black adults. So naturally, a candidate's stance on that one topic is going to have a much bigger impact.
And this right here, reveals a major disconnect. A central theme of Trump's campaign is mass deportation, right? But look at this. A full half of Hispanic adults are against that idea. Only a quarter actually support it. That's a huge gap, a really fundamental difference in opinion on a core campaign promise.
So when you put it all together, all this data leaves us with a really critical question, doesn't it? Are we just looking at a temporary dip, a reaction to the economy and the political pressures of right now? Or could this poll be an early sign of something much bigger, a major, more permanent political realignment? I guess only time will tell.